I will call Senator Patterson. Senator Patterson.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Home Affairs, Senator Watt. During the High Court proceedings on the NZYQ case on the 2nd of June this year, Justice Gleeson strongly signalled that the court may rule against indefinite detention, stating, "It seemed to me that I ought not let this directions hearing go past without acknowledging that the purpose of his detention is for removal, and yet it seems that on one view of the facts, capacity for removal is likely diminishing from very little to none. So I draw that to your attention as a factual matter that may ultimately be relevant." And other comments of a similar nature. Why did the government not immediately prepare legislation in anticipation of this likely contingency, instead of waiting until dangerous criminals had already been released into the community?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Watt.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Patterson. I am aware of those remarks that were made by Justice Gleeson in the High Court. I'm also aware of some remarks that Senator Patterson made in this chamber the other day when, while Senator Wong was answering a question, Senator Patterson interjected and made the point that the High Court's ruling overturned 20 years of precedent. So it seems that at the time, at least, Senator Patterson made those interjections the other day, he was aware that there had been a High Court decision in place with a clear ruling on this matter of law for 20 years, and that the decision that ultimately was received by the High Court, the full bench of the High Court, overturned that 20 years of precedence. So I think for Senator Patterson to come in now and pretend that he had a crystal ball that this decision was going to end up the way it did is completely disingenuous and goes against the comments that he made earlier in the week. Of course, in addition to that, what we also know is that the opposition leader, Mr Dutton, knew that this was an issue when he was the Minister for Home Affairs for a number of years, and he didn't do anything to address the issue either. Our urgent legislation that we have introduced today—
Minister what? Senator Patterson.
Thank you, Madam President. On direct relevance, the question was about comments that Justice Gleeson made in June this year. Last time I checked, Peter Dutton wasn't in government in June this year. You were.
Thank you, Senator Patterson. The minister is being relevant to your question. Minister Watt, please continue.
It's interesting that the opposition is so defensive of Mr Dutton's record as the Home Affairs Minister. Of course, he was also the Home Affairs Minister who presided over a completely broken migration system that was exposed by the Nixon report.
Minister Watt, please resume your seat. Senator Birmingham.
President, a point of order on direct relevance, of which the minister is clearly not being directly relevant to the specifics of the question Senator Patterson asked. But also, President, an urging for you to engage more frequently when a minister is so directly pivoting to comment on the opposition or on matters that are extraneous to the specifics of the question, and to more proactively please draw the minister back to the question that has been asked.
Senator Birmingham, I think I do respond, and I was about to respond to Minister Watt, and I saw you stand, so I took your point of order. Minister Watt, I will refer you back to the question.
Thank you, President. It's just been drawn to my attention that, in fact, Senator Patterson is incorrectly misrepresenting the remarks of Justice Gleeson as well. Justice Gleeson's comments in June did not indicate the likely judgment of the High Court. What she said was, quote, "In a sense, what you seem to be saying is that his position is utterly hopeless. That is nothing that could be done to ready him for removal." That is far from indicating that the High Court full bench was going to make the decision that it ended up making. But notwithstanding that, we have now produced urgent legislation within a very short amount of time, and we invite the opposition to work with us to get it done.
Thank you, Minister Watt. Senator Patterson, first supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. When did the government first become aware that penalties for breaches of visa conditions by this cohort would be unenforceable, given the ultimate consequence of a breach is detention, which was just ruled unconstitutional by the High Court?
Minister Watt.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Patterson. What matters here is that the government is taking action to fix this problem. What matters here— I barely started answering the question.
Thank you. Senator Patterson.
Madam President, on direct relevance, the minister is right. He's barely started answering the question, but indicated in his first few words he's not even going to attempt to engage in the question, which is, when did the government first become aware?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. The minister had just got to his feet. You have reminded him of the question. Minister Watt, please continue.
Well, as I say, President, the government first became aware of the High Court's decision and the implications that flowed from it when the High Court delivered its decision. And as I say, and I've said before, they haven't delivered their reasons yet. But notwithstanding that, we have moved expeditiously to fix this issue. We've invited the opposition to help with this, but all they've continued to do all week is play politics with the issue. So what we've seen from Mr Dutton in usual form is to play politics, try to divide people, rather than actually work constructively with the government to try to find a solution. We know that is the way he operates. We know that is the way the coalition operates, rather than actually working constructively to deal with a High Court decision that overturned 20 years of precedent and that now needs to be fixed, and we're committed to fixing it.
Senator Patterson, second supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. When did the government first direct the Office of Parliamentary Counsel to draft legislation to address the serious risks to community safety which follow from the High Court's ruling?
Minister Watt.
Thank you, President. Well, I've personally heard both Minister Giles and Minister O'Neill say this week that the legal implications of this decision were being considered before a decision came down. There were contingency plans being developed, and that's what led, for instance, to us imposing a number of conditions on the people that were released into the community extremely quickly, as soon as they were released into the community. Things like reporting to police, things like avoiding—
Minister Watt, please resume your seat. Senator Patterson.
Madam President, do I really need to make a point of order on direct relevance here? I asked about the Office of Parliamentary Counsel. The minister has not mentioned those words or when the advice was first given to them.
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Wong.
The question goes to the drafting of legislation. The minister's first sentence went to the answers that have been given by the relevant ministers in the other place on that topic. So I submit his answer is clearly relevant. If the opposition doesn't want to hear about the other measures for community safety, I think that says something about their political motives.
Thank you, Senator. Minister Wong. Senator Patterson, I believe the minister is being relevant. I will, however, listen to the remainder of his answer, and if he strays, I'll draw him back to the question. Minister Watt.
As I say, President, the government has now introduced legislation to deal with this emerging issue. We have sought to work with the opposition to have that legislation passed, and Mr Dutton, Senator Patterson and every member of the coalition has a decision to make. Are they going to continue playing politics on this matter?
I will draw you back to the question.
Yep. Are they going to continue playing politics or work with us to make communities safe?